A very good evening to everybody who has joined here. Welcome to the second in the series of our webinars in line to our International Women's Day focus. We have curated a webinar for every Wednesday of this month on different objectives, and this is the second one in that series. And we have called this as Ignite Your Career with Confidence. And this is designed specifically for women looking to rediscover and restart their career with confidence after a break. So as you're able to see the presentation screen, in today's session, the top line that you see is a part of the agenda that we have. And as a part of our agenda, we're going to start with some of the reasons or some of the issues that we might face when we are on a career break across different spectrums. And then we are going to touch upon a little bit about the solutions. And of course, the most awaited things that we have is our guest speak. Our guests would be joining in today and sharing their experiences. And last but not the least, we also have our questions. So let's embark on this transformative journey. Whether you are looking to return to your field, today's session is what the doctor ordered for you to reignite your career with confidence. So there are certain disclaimers, heads up, and everything in between. Just some housekeeping things. So we have close to 20 slides here. And for all the people here, so that's from the start to the end. And the session would have a lot of instant polls. So if you are joining in on Zoom, then the poll will pop up on the screen for you. And if you are joining in on any other platform, then when the slide comes up for the poll, you can share your responses to that. And as we said, you might have a lot of queries with you. So there are two options for you. If you can hold back your queries, you can hold it back till the end of the session. And if by chance you want to state your queries then and there, you can always send a message over chat to the admin and they will be collating your queries and curating towards the end. And we are live on Zoom and also on YouTube through our YouTube Live. So from whichever platform you are joining in, a very warm welcome to you. And for those who stay till the end, there's a special giveaway for you. Thank you so much. Let's get started here. So before we get into the actual topic for the day, a little bit about me. I'm Charan and I'm the co-founder of UX. So I'm a seasoned professional with over 15 years of experience in diverse fields across a multitude of industries. Throughout my career journey, I've had the privilege of delving into 10 plus different sectors ranging from telecom to semiconductors to edtech to AI and whatnot. In my career, I've worn many hats, embracing over 10 plus responsibilities from quality assurance to customer success, from business development to marketing. I've thrived in different diverse environments, adapting and excelling at every turn. And I've also had my fair stint of being a part of a bunch of startups, right from bringing it up from ground up. And currently, my best option here and the latest venture is on personal branding. And it has been an exhilarating ride for me, to be very honest. And throughout my journey, one constant passion that has been coming through with me has been my love for content creation and content consumption, developing innovative marketing strategies, or simply indulging in creating creatives and for personal or for business consumption. And that's a bit about me, and let's just get started. So before we get into the reasons and the possible causes, the first poll we have for you to answer. So we want to understand the diversity of the people that we have here. So the first question that we want to know from you is, what's the professional background that you're coming from? So we have a question on that for you. So for all the people who are joining in on Zoom, your poll would have popped up. So please feel free to answer. And for all the people who are joining in through YouTube, you can mention about where you're coming from and what industry you're a part of or what kind of a domain that you're a part of, you can always mention it on the comments there. I think we have a fair spread of people across different domains. Thank you. Thanks a lot for all your responses. I'm just going to close that up. And the next question that we would want to also know from you is, how much experience do you hold? And that's a question that's coming up for all of you. So what's the experience that you hold? And if you haven't got the poll on your Zoom, here it is coming now. So please feel free to mention about the experience that you hold in your professional endeavors so far. So I'm just going to hold on for a few more seconds until all the participants go about sharing where they fall under. So we have a mixed audience here, with predominant of the people falling under the bucket of 11 to 15 years of experience. The second comes with people who are into 16 to 20 years of experience, and a few in the bracket of 6 to 10 years of experience. And I'm just going to close this poll in 3, 2, 1, and go. And again, last but not the least for the moment, I have one more poll question. So this is specifically for the context of today's webinar. So this is related to career breaks, and depending on where you are, you can probably answer this question accordingly. So how long have you been on a career break? So that's the question that we have for you. So please feel free to let us know if at all. And if it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. And if you're just wanting to understand a little bit more about it, we are still okay with that. So we still, as a part of the participants, we have a bunch of people who have had an experience of being a part of career break to less than a year or to even up to 2 to 4 years. That's wonderful. So I have a few more seconds before we close up on these polls in 3, 2, 1, and go. So that's pretty much the kind of audience information gathering that we wanted to do when we get started. And I just want to take this further after this. So here again. Okay. So where do we start? So the first and foremost aspect that we want to talk about when somebody is on a career break. So for all the people who might be confused, what we are talking about as a career break is basically a person who has taken a break from their careers and looking to come back to a working structure or a full-time role as a part of their professional endeavors. So those people who are in that kind of a space is what we call whom are on a career break. So the strange encounters. So when we are on a career break, we generally tend to encounter a lot of people whom we haven't met or whom we don't know. And because we are in the journey of getting back to a professional space, we sort of associate a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings for the strangers that we encounter with. The most common of the aspect is the belief. So most commonly, we come across the aspect of believing what any stranger tells us. In the sense, if somebody tells us, hey, we have an opportunity that is coming up, so please go ahead and apply for this. We'll blindly believe the people and we go about applying for it, not just once, not just twice, not just thrice, and it keeps on happening. So one of the important aspects of what we do is we start believing in strangers and the kind of opportunities that they tell us. And the second important aspect that we develop within ourselves is desperation. So when somebody somewhere in a WhatsApp group or on a LinkedIn forum or anywhere, if somebody puts up an opportunity, we start looking at it with a desperation that we would want to get into that opportunity. So there is a lot of desperation that comes along, especially with something that is being shared. And when people are in this kind of a desperate situation, more often than not, they get into being duped or being conned for a potential opportunity that really does not exist. And along with the belief, in some cases, there is also a hope that comes with people. So they always keep hoping that would this next opportunity be my big break that I'm looking for. There's a lot of hope that gets cultivated amongst ourselves. So are strangers the only set of people with whom we face a lot of dilemmas? The next slide is for you on the other set of people. Our friends and family, how can we really forget what our friends and family does for us? So one of the important aspects, especially when we are on a career break, is negativity. So I don't know how many of you experience it, but there are a lot of people who experience negativity around their friends and family. Typically in the form of people telling, hey, you've been on a break for these many years. So I don't think you'll be able to get back to a similar role or get back to holding a position of similar experience as you left it probably a few years back. So why don't you start applying for roles that are much more junior to you? Or in various flavors, people spread negativity around you. It's not that they want to do that intentionally, but they do it. But is negativity is the only problem? What about positivity? There's also a problem there. There's also a problem of over comforting. So there are a lot of people around who keep cheering for us when we are on a career break and looking to come back to a professional environment. There are a lot of people who start cheering for us. And of course, these two people do not exist together sometimes. You see a bunch of people who are very negative, and there are a bunch of people who are totally positive. Probably you may not even have looked at an opportunity whether that might be relevant for you or not. But then these over comforting people will be telling you that, hey, this is the one for you. You're going to get the big break for you. Of course, in a smaller way, we might feel happy about somebody telling us positively, but over a period of time, this starts getting into the realm of an overcompensating and over comforting that is not really helping us. And the third and the most important aspect that we get from our friends and family, which really drains it out in our endeavors, is what we call as pity. So this is really draining for us, and this breaks down our morale in a lot more worse manners as compared to the other two. Because the worst thing that we would be looking out for from people is people pitying us. So is that the only problem? Are strangers and family and friends are the only set of problems? There's another important person who is really the biggest of all problems. And the person is you or our own selves. So, I mean, if you're surprised when we say our own selves are the problem here, then here's something that causes the problem within ourselves: complexities. So when we are talking about complexities, there are literally two ends of the spectrum. There are a bunch of people who are having the complex of feeling inferior about themselves because they are on a career break. So they probably start thinking that they are not really capable of the experience that they had held prior to them taking a break. So they think inferior and they start looking out for opportunities that are not to the level of experience that they hold. And there's another end of the spectrum. There is a complex of superiority. So they keep negating the opportunities that come that might be relevant for them, thinking that even though they might have had a career break, they are on the process of getting into a better position, and it's just an interview away, and that causes impediments in their journey. And of course, when we are talking about the problem that happened within us, we bring in other elements that help us justify what we feel for ourselves. That's what we call as the fate karma paradox. So we don't know the reason for why we are not being able to crack a particular opportunity, then we always have a person to blame. That person is called fate. We call fate as the reason for why we are not able to do something which we are supposed to do easily for the competency that we hold. So that is also something which we have as a problem within ourselves. And the last one, because of all these complexities and the experiences and the blame on the fate, a sense of mistrust starts building within us, and we start losing trust with any of the people that we are connecting with, be it in professional space or be it in our personal space. We start giving up on all the things that are around us, and we sort of start getting ourselves into a shell and resigning from the aspect of not being able to crack an opportunity or get into a job. So of course, these problems does not all of it does not exist for one person, but then in bits and pieces, it exists for a lot of people. So is there a way out of course, there's a way out, and we have our wonderful guests who are here to talk about that as well. But before we get to them in a minute, what is the way out? We just want to talk about a little bit about the aspects. What's the most important? The primary thing is about building your self-confidence. So, of course, you might tell me that, hey, it's easier said than done. When we are in that kind of a situation, how do we go about building our self-confidence? Then there's something that will aid you in building your self-confidence. It's about building your competence. So as you build your competence in the space that you want to get into, sometimes we might have taken a break from a particular role, and after a career break, we would probably want to continue on that role, or probably because of the amount of time that we have spent off job, we are probably contemplating on getting into a completely different role or completely different position. Then we need to build the competence and we need to build the self-confidence for us to actually aspire to go to that. So all these things are really important. And of course, as I said, in the context of self-confidence, if it cannot be brought by our own selves, then you need to look for help. The help could be a friend, the help could be a family member, the help could be a stranger, like people like us, who can connect with you, talk to you, and help you bring back your self-confidence, understand your competency, and help in building the way out of it. And the last and the most important thing is positioning. So when you need to position yourself for a particular opportunity, you need to be very clear on where are you putting yourself as. So let's say if you hold 10 years of experience before you went on a 5-year career break, then you need to ask yourself this question. So do I need to position myself as a professional with 10 years of experience? Or do I need to position myself as a professional with probably 8 years of experience? Or do I need to position myself as a professional with probably 15 years of experience, even though I had a career break, but I have compensated the break through my learnings and through my upgradation and through my competence building? Have I done that? Then you need to be very clear on where you want to position yourself, so that when we look for approaching for opportunities, we are very clear in terms of how are we going to go about positioning ourselves in the opportunity that we are aspiring to crack. So that is very important. And sorry for taking such a long time, and for all the people who have been waiting to speak to our guests, I'm just going to get on to introducing our guests. So today, I'm really honored to have two remarkable women who have not only gone on to become leading women in their respective careers, but have also emerged successful from being on a career break in their career journey. So first, allow me to introduce Aishwarya Narayanan. Aishwarya, with over a decade of experience driving projects to success, she brings a wealth of experience in strategic planning, program management, and innovation. What sets Aishwarya apart is not just her business acumen and people skills, but also her unwavering confidence and resilience, especially in the face of challenges. Amidst the uncertainties of COVID, Aishwarya didn't just return to the workforce, she redefined it. Her journey from pause to becoming a force to reckon with serves as a guiding beacon for all of us to aspire for and to blend with her authenticity and her competency. And joining her is also another wonderful professional, Deepa, whose journey epitomizes growth and transformation. From her humble beginnings as a passionate content writer to her current role as a head of a thriving content practice, Deepa's trajectory inspires awe and admiration. Her expertise in crafting bespoke content strategies and leading digital marketing initiative has revolutionized the way businesses connect with their audiences. Deepa's story is a testament to the power of dedication, expertise, and creativity in achieving remarkable career milestones. So together, Aishwarya and Deepa will share their insights, experiences, and possibly advice on reigniting your career with confidence. So without further ado, let's welcome Aishwarya and Deepa to the virtual stage, and let's get to listen from them on their journeys. I'm just going to close the slides for the sake of the conversation. So thank you, Deepa. Thank you, Aishwarya, for joining us. So how are you both doing today?
Hey, Charan, thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, we're doing good.
Wonderful. What about you, Aishwarya?
Doing well, Charan. Thank you.
So either of you have your own respective career break journeys. Okay. So before we get into the hows and the whys aspect of it, the first question for either of you would be is on under what circumstances you actually got into a break in a career. Probably we can start with Deepa on this.
Sure. I think firstly, good evening to everyone who's attending this session today. So Charan, to answer your question, so my break was pretty, I think, what most women undergo. As soon as I got pregnant, and back in 2016, there was no normalization around the whole work from home situation, and I had to make a travel of almost 1.5 hours one way, which was not advised at that point for me. So that caused me to take a break in my career. And back then, I did not really think much about, how this break would really impact my career. I wanted to focus on my health and well-being, and I took that spontaneous decision to, take a break, and look at the priorities at that point. And that break lasted for about a year, during which a lot of developments did occur. Probably we will cover that in the further questions that you ask.
What about you, Aishwarya? Thanks, Deepa. I think a lot of people would have gone through a career break due to pregnancy. So we'll come back to that on how it impacted. Over to you, Aishwarya. Your experience has been very different, so probably you can share some light on that, Aishwarya.
So the Deepa story is one part. I stay on the second set of people where people were laid off during the COVID times. So my journey is like quite similar to that. Just before COVID, when my organization had a revamp due to some unseen situations, I was laid off and I was not in India at that time. Then for a lot of unseen scenarios where there like visa issues and quite a lot of things, and I had planned to come back to India as well. And with COVID coming there were like delayed job opportunities or like limited job opportunities with limited travel options also to travel back. So that's about my my story to start with during the break. So it was close to one year, not exactly 1 year, close to 1 year where I was on career break.
Okay, so I mean, this question is probably to Aishwarya. So I mean, between both of you, I think Deepa's career break was more about a planned decision. Like she had a choice there, and she took a break, and then of course the journey of coming back that exists there. But in your case, I think it was more circumstantial, and it was not a choice that you had to make. So how did you start recuperating, or how did you start planning your comeback? What was the first go-to? How did you start looking out for opportunities?
So the biggest challenge during my career break was the emotional resilience that I had and adapting to the new environment, like from working continuously for in the same organization for close to 8+ years to like being jobless at home was like very different there. The main thing that I worked on was like my networking strategies, where I started rebuilding my networks and established my credibility in the field post career. Yes, like I actively engaged in the industry events, some professional forums, and I connected back to my old colleagues, my peers, my managers who were in different companies at that point of time, which gave way to a lot of new opportunities for me. And leveraging social media platform, of course, and attending some networking events then.
So interesting. I mean, Aishwarya mentioned about networking as a part of her primary source to coming back to a job or looking to explore for a job. Deepa, do you have a similar resonance on that aspect, or how has been your journey there, Deepa?
Yes, I think networking did play a massive role even in my case, because during my break, right, I still wanted to be part of the industry and not, become irrelevant, because I did not know how long the break would last. So I ensured, I stayed in touch with my, like Aishwarya mentioned, and I had worked in three organizations in the past. So I had active connections with them. I did, some conversations that I had with my managers, ex-managers and my peers who had moved to other organizations within the same industry. And all of that, encouraged me to, take up certain relevant courses in my free time, stay in touch, understand and gauge, how the industry was moving and what are people really expecting in different organizations, to keep myself, updated and relevant for when I decide to step back into my career path.
Now, interesting point that you mentioned about updating myself. So I have this question for both of you. Probably I'll start with Aishwarya. Okay. So before I get to the question, see, whenever we are on the lookout for updating our skill sets, there are so many things that are available. So how do I go about choosing which one is relevant for me or which one is going to help me in my career progression? Or in your cases, in your experiences, how did either of you, if at all you went about taking up a specific course or taking a specific learning, how did you go about picking and choosing for the space that you were in? And then how did you go about confidently taking that? I'll start with Aishwarya.
So I did my certified Scrum Master course after I came back to India and I joined the next firm that I was working with. So I was discussing with my peers, and also the Scrum Master role was like quite in line with the current role that I was performing at that point of time. I was a project manager back then at 𝗖𝗿 Digital, based out of Chennai. So getting a certified Scrum Master was more essential with respect to my role. And I browsed through like what are the pros and cons of taking this, or should I go with a CSPO than a CSM, or what would be more essential or what would be more suitable for my role. And I just checked with my managers as well, like they also guided me on like what would be ideal for me, and that's how I went ahead and took this course.
What about you, Deepa? So how did you go about it? Because you are from a different space. So as compared to what Aishwarya is into, so how was your approach?
So I think my approach was basically to stay connected, like I mentioned earlier as well. So as soon as I stayed in touch with my peers, kept reading papers or following trends within my industry, I realized that there are certain elements or certain certifications, like Aishwarya mentioned, that would help me stay as updated and upskilled as it would be required for me to come back. And like you had mentioned in your presentation as well, right? How do you really know whether you're relevant or not? And with the surrounding really putting you down, I think that was another factor which kept me going, right? Where I was very clear on, on the fact that this is just a break, right? It's not, it's just a comma, not a full stop. So that kept me going. And I think those were certain inner traits that kept me pushing towards taking up these courses or staying upskilled and relevant.
Interesting. So although I understand you, both of you, having to dip into your peer network and looking to the opportunities and getting into the right set of courses. I have this question for Aishwarya, and then I'll come back to you on the same question. So Aishwarya, if I understood from you from the earlier interactions that we had, So the first break that you got after you came out of your career break, it did not have the salary that you were really looking for, and the size of the organization was not really the size that in a normal day that you would probably sign up for. So, but still you went ahead and signed up for that kind of an organization. So what was your thought process? So people have different choices. There would be people who are like, hey, I don't want to get into this kind of an organization, and let me look for organization of my size, my experience, my background, and my salary expectations. But then you chose an option which was risky, scary, and also a little bit of into the unknown. So what was your thought process in why you chose what you chose?
So, despite difficulties in finding the suitable roles and relocating to India, especially in the pandemic times, right? So, mitigating these challenges, I accepted this position at the very nearby startup, nearby to my place, with a very low salary, just to avoid the prolonged break that I had in my career. The role was actually I mean, very fancy, and it was very promising initially, though not the salary. But in a very short period of time, I realized it was not the right fit for me. I intensified my job search efforts again, gave multiple interviews within a span of a quarter or so, leading to multiple offers. I had 4 offers back then after a quarter. Eventually, I transitioned back to the place where I really thought I should be.
Wonderful. So, Deepa, the same question to you. I mean, I understand from your experience that after your career break, you actually did not get into a full-time role per se directly. You got into a kind of a freelancer, or you got into a kind of a role that is not the full-time role that you had been experiencing prior to your career break. So how did you gather the confidence of becoming a freelancer or doing things on a part-term basis, and how it actually turned into a full-time later on? So how that actually transpired?
Hey, can you see? Sorry. So no, see, I think what something that Aishwarya mentioned, right? I did not want the break to be too long, and that was one main reason why I wanted to still join in the capacity of a freelancer, which gave me the flexibility of handling my personal priorities as well, while staying in touch with my professional priorities. And as soon as I realized that I was ready to take up a full-time role, and I had the support that I needed to handle my personal priorities, I was fortunate enough to get that jump in the same organization for whom I was working as a freelancer. And I think that's also something that leads back to the point of staying connected, because maintaining a good relationship. So all of that, I think, helped in my progression from being a freelancer to the profession that I am today. And when it comes to the break itself, right? It did give me that boost and encouragement to do something, and I was very very clear that this is what I want to do. Right, I took a break from the same field, that is digital marketing, and the break did give me that space to reflect on my thoughts and my priorities, and I was pretty clear that this is what I want to do, and this is where my strengths lie. And pretty much that was what I needed as a confirmation to get back into the game.
No, that's really wonderful to know. I think if we when you did what you did, I think you wouldn't have visualized what was ahead of you. But I think probably looking back at how your journey has been, I think it turned out for the good for you, is what I understand.
Absolutely.
So I have this question for both of you. So if there is one challenge that you can put it as a tag, like this was my biggest challenge when I was in a career break. So name the challenge that you had and how did you go about or what did you do in overcoming that challenge? So probably we'll start with Aishwarya here.
So, so this is not the break that I was looking for, or I did that on a purpose. So it was something that I had to accept it. So in that way, the biggest challenge during my career break was the emotional resilience that I had to go through. And for working just after my college, I mean, I think I completed my exams in May, and by June first week I had to join this company. So from then, even other than my maternity thing, I had not been on any break or like had to take any breaks. From then to adapting to new environments where I stay at home, and navigating this uncertainty of this COVID was like a very difficult task for me.
So how did you overcome that, Aishwarya? So what has been your approach towards it? What did you do?
So to overcome these, I focus mainly on maintaining a very positive mindset, so that I was like, when I go back to India, I'm sure that there is a very good opportunity in place. Like this happened actually for my good. Probably a better thing is ahead of me. That's the reason. So that positive mindset was thing that was driving me further. Then leveraging my support network, obviously my peers and my managers back in that company were a real support system for me, and staying very persistent with my job search, like approaching a lot of people, approaching different social media networks, and the job search networks were really helpful in that way. Each challenge that I really faced led to a learning opportunity and strengthening me that way.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you've put together a lot of approaches in resolving that issue that you have faced. What about you, Deepa? If you could name one challenge that, okay, this was my top challenge when I was, of course, bringing up a child is the challenge in most cases where women take on a pregnancy break. But then, is that the one or is there something else?
I think firstly, I was only expecting that it would be a maternity break, but for various reasons. Okay, just give me just a minute. I'm so sorry. Just give me a minute.
So while Deepa comes back on that question, so Aishwarya, continuing on your journey, so you got into a role of a program manager in a software domain, a pure play software services domain. Then how the transition from a pure play software services domain into a semiconductor domain? I have two questions there. How did that happen, and why did that happen? So why did you have to go into a semiconductor domain?
So the first organization where I was working was, though it was a service company, I was mainly working for semiconductor set of clients there, though not in a hands-on technical role. Those were a semiconductor set of clients, and I had a good knowledge of that. And I had a mentor who was like motivating me, telling that you come from an electronic background and you need to move back to semiconductor. And there was a push from different ends, and I myself felt that whatever I studied shouldn't go on a toss, like going into a pure play software company. So then I thought, let me brush up my skills on semiconductor, went through a lot of videos, spoke to a lot of semiconductor professionals, upgraded myself more on the technical side of it with the latest technologies and latest industry trends, the cutting edge technologies. And I gave a couple of interviews to move on to my semiconductor companies.
That's really wonderful, because not many people at any point in their careers, if they had gone away from their core domain on what they have learned and other things, they find the way to come back to the domain that they learned at an early stage of life. So it is very interesting that you were able to make that transition. So for somebody who's looking to aspire to become a project manager or become a program manager, so from your experience, I think you have a little over more than a decade of experience across managing projects and programs. So in your experience, what are the key skills and quality that somebody needs to develop? I mean, I understand the technical aspect of it. One needs to have that acumen, the competency, so on and so forth. That's a given. But apart from that, if there are 2-3 things that you could list out, hey, these are the key skills, or these are the qualities, what could be those?
A couple of things that come into my mind is like assertiveness. Being very assertive and giving a very effective communication is very crucial for a project success. And it's the responsibility of the program manager to facilitate communications across team stakeholders or the relevant parties there. So this includes about the project progress or addressing the issues and concerns or managing some conflicts or managing the expectations from different people, fostering the collaborations or things like that. The PM actually serves as the primary point of contact for all these kind of communications there. So being assertive and having a very good communication skill is very important. Apart from that, the risk management and problem solving skill is again a key skill that one should possess for being a project manager.
Okay. So a little bit about, probably not exactly on the context of a career break, but then we had a session last week about how can people improve themselves if they feel they are stuck in their careers. Okay. Now, since you are also a professional with more than a decade of experience, so how do you, from your experience, suggest how can one progress in their careers based on their interest and their aspiration, rather than just being stuck in their position and going at a very slow snail pace? What could they do? Is there something which specifically they can do about it?
For professionals who are seeking to reignite their careers, either software or the semiconductor, whichever industry they belong to, I would say that I would recommend that staying proactive and adaptable and being persistent is the key thing. Continuously, you invest on the skill development, maintain a very good professional network, and embrace the change as an opportunity by growth.
So I actually wanted to pick on that topic of maintaining a good professional network, because a lot of people think maintaining a good professional network is about asking people when we are looking out for jobs. So I think a lot of people think that as an aspect of maintaining a professional network. So when you are looking out for a job, of course, you reach out to the connections. But when we are not looking out for a job, how do we maintain that professional network, and how do we stay connected there so that the people that we are connected to don't think like, hey, this person is coming and talking to me, probably they are looking out for a job, so they don't think about us that way. So how do we find that balance, that we connect with them but we still don't keep asking for opportunities? How do we do that, Aishwarya?
So there are various ways to do it. Especially you can join some professional forums. For semiconductor things, there are like women back in career, women in professionals for semiconductors. There are a lot of some professional forums there where you can become a member and actively post on your learnings there or your insights about or your whatever you know, your differentiating factors there, where you can tell them that things can be resolved or things can be done in a different way, or what you have encountered in your career before your breaks. This is one way of like enhancing your professional journey. So that way people will instead of we going and reaching out to people, people will start reaching out to you. I feel that a person should be like enough skilled or enough make use of use of this professional networking, where that when they are looking for opportunity, not that when they are looking for opportunity, when there is an opportunity that come in place, the hiring manager should reach out to you asking, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity and are you available for that, instead of you going back and asking them that, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity and do you have one?
Wonderful. I think that's the way we need to look at turning our careers all around. So with one last question that we were on asking Deepa, we'll stop with that question and we'll just open it up. For the want of time, we'll open it up for questions, anything. So the last question that I was asking you, Deepa, was about your challenge and how did you go about it?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was, I think, acceptance, right? So, like Aishwarya mentioned, right I got placed on campus, and since then I have been working and across 3 different organizations and 2 different cities. It has always been, getting up, getting ready, going to office, working, the socializing and all of that. Now suddenly, putting a break or a pause to that was difficult, more from a mental perspective, and my mental state was not in the right place for me to accept that. Oh, what now? I'm not going to get up and get ready and go to office, and accepting that, like your slide mentioned, the most important problem is you, right? That was, I think, the biggest challenge in my case. That was very tough for me initially. It took me a good 1 or 2 months to come to terms with myself and say that, you know what, this is not really the end. um, you know uh, uh, be uh, uh, be positive about it, and there is, there's always a silver lining, and we I think that challenge, and to answer your question to how I overcame that, I think mostly my family and friends supported me through that journey, because I started, opening up and talking about how I felt, and I accepted my, vulnerable state, and then started opening up, and then as I started talking about it, and slowly getting others' perspectives about it, and understanding that, this is completely normal, and you can always get back in the game. Yes, and that's when it hit me, like, yes, I need to stay focused, and I need to get back into the game, and this is just a pause, right? It's not a full stop, so it's just a pause. So that then drove me to, what I spoke about in terms of upskilling, and keeping in touch with the right people, and talking about everything that I wanted to do and I wanted to pursue professionally. And I think that, in my opinion, was my biggest challenge amongst other challenges.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, really, Deepa.
As Deepa said, it's like, let's take a momentary pause to gather our thoughts before we proceed.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
correct. Yes.
So, for the want of time, we'll just take a pause here and we'll open up for questions. So, if any of the participants have any questions here on Zoom, this is the time for you to either turn on your audio or video and ask, or you can always put it on chat. We can put that question to our guests today. So I'll give 5 more seconds for somebody to come up with a question, or else I'll ask another question. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So there was a question from YouTube. So this was about, I think probably Aishwarya, I know that she's in that process. Probably Deepa, if you have also knowledge on that, you can also take it. So there is a question asking about how to approach a PMP certification from a preparation standpoint. So there's a question that comes from YouTube. So if you have any suggestions, so please go about it. Aishwarya?
Aishwarya, you want to take this, since it's your field?
For approaching PMP certification, it involves like understanding of the requirements. So why do you even want to do a PMP certification? So if you are really clear that this is what probably you are in sync with your career journey, or you're already in a program manager or a project manager role, or you are moving to that role and you are sure of taking this, then I would suggest that you understand the requirements of a PMP, like just familiarize with the eligibility criteria set by the PMP first. Apart from that, study the PM book guide that you have and enroll for a PMP prep course. There are a lot of people who provide this prep course. I mean, offline, I can provide you some connects as well if you are looking for. Then create a study plan. The most difficult thing about giving a PMP exam, where a lot of people try to lose, is like patience, because it's a 4-hour exam with 300 odd questions or something, and having that patience to sit in a same place for 4 hours is like a very challenging thing, is what like I heard. Even I haven't given one, I'm trying to very shortly. So create a study plan, practice the sampler questions. There are a lot of sample questions in the PMP guide, that once you enroll in that prep course, you will get that access to that sample questions. Practice with a lot of sample questions, especially this 200 question samples you can go through, so that we develop the patience more than anything. Then stay updated on any exam changes, because I mean, the set of things keep changing every 3-4 years once. So before you give it for the exam, so ensure that you know the exact rules of that. Then go ahead with confidence.
So if at all there was one tough takeaway based on what Aishwarya said, was sitting in a place for 4 hours and taking it is my toughest challenge if I had to give up PMP, because it's been years since we sat on an exam for any rhyme or reason. So I have this question. I mean, I'll just take a pause for 5 seconds. Any questions from the audience here now? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maheshwari, looks like there's a question. Okay, I don't see it. Okay, so I have the question from Maheshwari. So how long did it take for you to find a job after you decided to resume work? So there's an aspect of being on a break, and there's an aspect of deciding to go back and then getting a job. So I think probably that's a very interesting and very specific and very relevant question. So probably Deepa, you can take this from your perspective.
Sure. I think in my case, yes, from the point that I decided that, I'm ready to get back to the grind. I think for me, in my case specifically, it was a little easier because I joined the same organization for whom I was freelancing. But yes, I did not expect that in the beginning. So as soon as I decided, I did reach out to all my connects, dropping in emails and getting back to them. But fortunately, in my case, I heard back from my current boss today, and he offered to get me on roll and get started with my job immediately. So in my case, it was pretty straightforward, and I would say I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity.
So I think networking and staying connected with
Absolutely.
the people
Yes.
actually played a huge role in bridging that distance between when I want to work and when I actually got the work, right? Okay, understood.
Correct. Apart from that, Charan, sorry to interrupt, but apart from that, I think another major factor that played to my advantage is how I found that I was the right fit for that particular role, right? And I ensured that I showed it to them by staying upskilled and getting the right skill sets on board. So that is also a very important factor that played in my favor. And so for anyone who's looking and have, if you have that clarity that you want to, do what you are currently doing, it's going to be very important for you to upskill and stay updated with the trends that the industry demands.
Well said, well said. So there's a follow-up for you, Aishwarya. Probably the person wants to know a little bit more. This is again from YouTube. So for taking a project management role, despite having little to no experience on real management, is it really helpful if I go about and taking a PMP? And is it okay to go about switching into a role as a kind of a daring try?
So for being a project manager or program manager, PMP is an additional or an added advantage, but it is not the only criteria to switch on to that role. I mean, if you think that you have the right skills and you have the vision to go ahead in this direction, then I would suggest you to go there. But before you take a PMP, I can tell you that you can go for a CSM or a CSPO course where lot of the scrums, Kanban, Confluence, Jira, all these things are Gantt charts, all these are covered there on a very high level. So you get the very broad perspective of that before diving into PMP.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Looks good. So if there are no further questions, I just want to take a pause there. I'll just give 5 seconds. Any further questions from anybody? 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So since probably there are no further questions, I'm just going to for all the people who have joined here, I'm just going to open up a little bit of a giveaway. So it's the least that we can offer from our side. So we wanted to tell everybody that you can connect with us if at all you have a requirement of, especially if it is for you or if it is for anybody that you know who are on the lookout for coming out from their career breaks. They are looking for some kind of a support mechanism, then they can take this opportunity and get into a consulting, and we can just talk about it and see how we can go about redefining your career and bringing it back to the space that you actually aspire to get into. So that's something very important there. So we have just for all the people on YouTube, we are putting it on the screen for you to scan. For people who are joining on Zoom, we have shared it on the chat for you to have a look at the link and make use of it. And that's pretty much what we have for today. And I would like to thank all the participants and all the people who have joined through YouTube and have the opportunity to share their thought process here. We really have been happy to have you all around, and I really thank both the guests for their wonderful experience sharing. And I know pretty sure that we walked through certain difficult times about your professional journeys, and I'm pretty sure that looking back at it today, I think you both have come off to a far better place, both professionally and in your resilience, as Aishwarya kept mentioning about it. Thank you so much for all of us for joining in. And next week, just before we wrap it up, next week we have a wonderful session that we have lined up. This is more towards building up our leadership skills. So we have a wonderful senior executive who is looking to join us next week, same time, 8 p.m. and provide us the ropes for us to learn the trades of leadership in the respective journeys that we are in. So if you are in the space of getting into leadership roles, then probably next week is something that you would not probably want to miss out. Thank you so much again, and thanks a lot for joining in. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Charan.
Hey, thank you so much.